What's up, guys? Chris here to talk about this super stacked UFC 136 card going down this weekend, this Saturday, I should say, coming Saturday. Really looking forward to this event. You know, UFC's been on a roll as of late with their events. Just some really good events the last few times out. And on paper, this has the possibility of eclipsing all the most recent ones. You know, granted, much like with the UFC on Versus this past weekend, the cards that I usually have low expectations for exceed them, and then the ones I'm really hyped for in the past hasn't been so much the case lately, but in the past don't turn out so good. You know, fights just go the distance, or boring fights, or things just don't go as planned. But this card has got so many stylistically, good matchups on it. I don't see how it can disappoint. I mean, there's going to be at least a couple fights that are just going to be insane. Not going to really talk about the undercard because there's just so much other stuff to talk about on the spike and main portion of the card. And that's not even mentioning the fact that a fight fell off between, I believe, Mike Russo and Dave Herman because Pee-wee failed the drug test or something. So that's even one more heavyweight fight that could have been on the card that would have added to the entertainment value. But as for the spike portion of the card, Damian Maia, Jorge Santiago, I'll favor Maia slightly. Neither guy is all that great on the feet. Maia may have a better chin because Santiago's is terrible, but on the ground I give Maia the edge. So I think Maia might be able to eke this one out. But if it stays on the feet for all 3 rounds, then I could see Santiago pulling out a decision. Showtime Pettis versus Jeremy Stephens. This is one of the fights that I'm really anticipating. Obviously, Showtime coming off his UFC debut loss to Clay Guida. But that was a stylistic matchup. That's not going to be a problem here. He's going against a little heathen, one of my favorite fighters in the sport. A guy that just likes to stand and throw hands. And unfortunately, though, for Jeremy, that may play into Anthony Pettis perfectly because although Stephens can throw and has a lot of power, he's more of a one-dimensional striker where Anthony Pettis is definitely, uses the kicks, knees, Muay Thai, and the hands. And he's a lot more diverse on the ground with the grappling as well. Not that I see the fight going there too often, if at all. But as much as I'm a fan of Little Heathen Stephens, I gotta favor Pettis just because he's a little bit more well-rounded both on the feet and in the stand-up game. But expect it to be one of the better fights of the night. And if Stephens can catch Pettis flush with something hard, I definitely think he could hurt him and possibly finish him off. All right, on the pay-per-view portion, Nam fan Leonard Garcia 2. This guy's had a fight, I believe, a year ago on one of those fight night cards on Spike, I believe it was. And Leonard got awarded a decision, a dubious decision, but that's kind of exemplified Leonard's career in the WEC. So not surprised he carried over to the UFC. That said, I thought Nam deserved to win their first fight. And I know Leonard's made a few improvements here since their first fight, but I still favor Nam fan in this one. I think as long as the judges, it's not the same panel of the judges, that Nam should be able to edge out a decision. But I expect another good, entertaining, exciting bout. Melvin Guerrero, Joe Lazon. Melvin, another one of my favorite fighters in the sport. Been on a bit of a tear lately, been really running through the competition, working his way up to a title shot. I was kind of surprised to see Joe Lazon get put against him because Joe Lazon's not really in the same spot as him at this stage of the rankings, let's say that. But the crazy thing is, this is like a trap fight, Melvin, he's been known to self-destruct in the past. I think he's got his shit together, since getting Greg Jackson's camp. But you never know. Joe Lazon, he's a guy that can, upset guys here and there. Usually, he also falters in the big moments, but this may be his opportunity to catch Melvin in some kind of submission, which it wouldn't shock me. But I think Melvin's going to play it safe early on, and then as Joe Lazon's gas tank runs low, as he usually seems to do, Melvin's going to pour it on and probably beat him up. So I'm going to go with Melvin to win this fight by a third-round stoppage. But not going to be surprised, even if I'll be frustrated, if Lazon's able to submit Melvin. Chael Sonnen Brian Stand. Chael's been out ever since that Anderson Silva loss with, the legal issues and the HGH thing, whatever it was. Stan got that win over Chris Lee in his last fight. It's been looking really improved as of late at middleweight and training with Greg Jackson's camp again. Obviously, this is a stylistic matchup. Sonnen wants to get this fight to the ground. Stan wants to keep it standing. Stan is probably improved on his wrestling since his WEC days. Definitely think being at 185 helps him. He usually has a size and strength advantage over most of the opponents, I would think, at that weight. But I got to favor Sonnen. World-class wrestler. He's dominated other wrestlers, such as Yushino Kami and Nate Marquardt, who are not necessarily a wrestler, but I think his wrestling is as good as, if not better than Stan's. And, we saw how Chael was able to manhandle him for the majority of their fight, along with Anderson Silva. So I'm going to favor Chael. I think he's going to get this fight to the ground time and time again. Not to say Brian Stan can't catch him with a big shot, maybe an uppercut or a knee. He's going for those takedowns, but Sonnen showed a pretty solid beard in the past, so I think he should be able to survive any tough spots like he did late in the Marquardt fight and fight through him and ultimately win a decision. And if he does, maybe he'll get that Anderson Silva rematch next. Co-main event of the night, UFC featherweight champion Jose Aldo defending his title against Kenny Florian. Credit to Kenny Florian for getting another title shot at a lower weight class, but I don't really see him having much of a chance here at all. Stand up, definitely give the edge to Aldo. Better striker, more powerful striker, more dynamic striker. Kenny may be a little bit more technical, maybe, but I don't think it's really going to matter in this fight. On the ground, Kenny may have a slight edge in the grappling. He might. I can't really say for sure one way or the other, but I don't think he's really going to. I don't think he's any really danger. I don't think he's a threat to Jose Aldo in submitting him. Let's just say that. I think Aldo's just going to punish him in the stand-up department, in all honesty. Maybe Kenny can catch Aldo with one of those elbows he used to cut people open with, but Aldo's just as vicious and brutal with his elbows as is Kenny. So I see Jose Aldo picking him apart on the feet, possibly getting a late stoppage, but I definitely see Jose Aldo winning this fight. I just don't see any way Kenny Florian wins this fight. No disrespect to Ken Flo. Main event of the night, rematch, lightweight champion, actually a third fight, lightweight champion, Frankie Edgar defending his title once again against Gray Maynard. Their first fight, Gray won by decision. Their second fight, which was at the beginning of this year, I actually thought was going to be a boring fight. I was wrong. I was glad I was wrong. That was one of the best fights thus far this year. Of course, Gray hammered Frankie in the first round, almost got a stoppage, but Frankie survived. Had a good second round, and it ended up being a back and forth fight, close fight, and of course it ended in a tie or a draw. This fight was supposed to happen earlier, but both guys suffered injuries, so you kind of wonder who may be more affected by that. Hopefully it'll just be, they'll come in at even terms, so we'll get a good fight like the rematch was. I'm gonna favor, as far as the fight goes, I'm gonna favor Frankie slightly. Sure, Gray showed that he could hurt Frankie, hurt him bad on more than one occasion, but I think Frankie may play it a little bit more safe this time, maybe a little bit more cautious of what Gray brings standing. It'll be interesting to see if Gray goes back to more of his wrestling like he did in their first fight. After hurting Frankie in the first fight, or in the second fight in the first round, he kind of just became, content or happy with looking for that big shot to finish off the fight and went away from his wrestling game. And he ended up gassing out as well. So it'll be interesting to see if he looks to go back into the wrestling where he had a pretty good edge on Edgar in their first fight. If not, though, if Edgar's able to keep him at bay and move around the ring and just box, I think he should be able to outpoint Gray. But if Gray goes to the wrestling, he can get him down, and maybe get some rounds and some points here and there. I expect another close fight either way. I don't know if we're going to get this fight as good as the last one, or as I don't think we're going to get any moments like the first round of the last fight. But I still expect a good back and forth fight. Probably be split rounds. I can see 3 rounds of 2 for either guy. But I'm going to give the slight edge to Frankie Edgar to win this fight by decision, possibly split decision, possibly majority decision, or unanimous. But I think Frankie's going to pull this one out. All right, talked about this event and more on this past weekend's Science Minds radio show. If you missed it, you can check it out. Link in the information bar of the video as always, as well as a link to scienceminds.com and to my Twitter. So for now, guys, I want to hear your thoughts on this event. If you're as excited for it as I am, which fights you look forward to the most, and of course, who you got winning the fights that you're interested in. Probably back on Saturday night to talk about these fights afterwards. But until then, I'm out.